Hello and welcome back to Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. We're your hosts. I'm Kevin,
And I'm Sean.
and we are glad you are here. Heck, we're glad you're back. Hey, in this podcast, we talk about sales challenges facing the B2B sales professionals. We talk about sales leadership, selling, and sales acumen, and how to solve real problems in a real way. Today, we'll break down one specific issue in just under 15 minutes, and Sean and I are being very specific about staying under our 15-minute time limit. So we're asking you to help hold us accountable there. But we'll break down one issue and go long and deep on it so you can hopefully take something that we talk about and apply it to your sales efforts. Sean, let's get started.
Thank you very much, Kevin. So I think we have a great topic for today. And that topic is, can your salespeople clearly communicate your unique selling proposition? In other words, what makes you different than your competition? What do you think, Kevin?
Value propositions, unique selling propositions, terms are interchangeable. You can talk about it, your unique value, your unique market presence. Why do people pay you versus somebody else, right?
Exactly.
So at the very highest level, you say, well, why did I go into business? Why am I doing what I do? Why do I pick my head up off the pillow, right, every morning and go out into the world to try and earn a living? And so this question comes up, and it's funny the answers you get. We exist to so and so and such and such. And what's funny is an exercise I went through in a strategic planning effort. I used to lead strategic planning for a business, and we would say if you stripped off the logos and the names, so much of the mission, vision, value propositions could go to any business. If we exist to deliver exemplary, buzzword, service value in this market, right?
Right.
To some end, to create a unique, work environment, life balance. What we've got to say beyond that as leaders is, so what?
Yeah.
We've got to go beyond the lobby art and get down to really, why do people pay you? What do we do that nobody else does, or what do we do better than everybody else in our market space?
Yeah. And so I like to say, when you say your unique selling proposition, and you can call this an elevator pitch if you want, because I think that's kind of combines there. If I talk to you and I say, this is what I do, you need your answer, your logical answer back to me should be, how do you do that? I mean, literally, it should be thought invoking, and it should say, wow, that's interesting. How do I take advantage of that? How do you do that? What are you doing that makes you so good at that, right? So you want that kind of response, the kind of visceral response coming back from whoever you're saying this to. It was interesting. I have an exercise that I put a lot of my clients through. I take a spreadsheet. I underline 50 cells in kind of a 10 by 5 kind of a grid. And I say, and I print it out and I hand it to a variety of people within the company. And I say, 50 words or less. That's why there's 50 cells with 50 underlined words. 50 words or less. Tell me what your unique selling proposition is, or your elevator pitch, or whatever terminology we want to use. And I'll give that to a variety of people. And it's interesting how many people come back, because now they have to read it and I make them read it back to each other. And how many people just don't have the same pitch over and over again. That could be your sales team, that could be your executive leadership team. It's very, very common that this is a problem, especially in smaller businesses that you and I, Kevin, work on and help with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the reason we chose this specific topic, well, there's a few reasons, but the one that I think will resonate most with the audience here is, what do I get out of this? I mean, we hear a lot of people talking mission, vision, values, got to have these statements, but what do I do with them, right? What we don't want to end up is with that statement written in a 3-ring binder and put on the shelf behind your desk.
Exactly right.
This has got to go beyond lobby art. So the reason we do this is, number one, for alignment, because once you know a value proposition, then you can say, well, who needs to hear that? What should they hear in their terms? And why should they select us based on that?
Exactly.
Because we can't do that work and tie it to revenue unless they're very clear and very intentional. A lot of people we work with, they've been very successful, in large part over a lot of years. But what we add, like our value proposition, is adding stability, consistency, infrastructure. Like what if you got on an elevator in a high-rise building and pressed 4 but went to 14? Or you pressed lobby and went to the penthouse, right? You've got to, if you don't have that kind of consistency in your high-rise building, your high-rise sales organization, you're never going to get to the right floor. Right. So by having this, it allows you to put some systematic controls in your process that allows other people to be successful in your organization, as well as other people to see inside your organization as a talent attractor. We don't talk about that a lot. We talk about a lot of revenue, but how often do we talk about infrastructure as a talent attraction tool?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. You know, I talk to a lot of CEOs. Kevin, I know you talk to a lot of CEOs of small businesses. And it's not uncommon if they aren't working with me today, or maybe they're not working with you, or that they'll say, I look at my sales team, and if they have 2 or 3 or 5 salespeople, they'll say, Joe and Larry, they get it. They're bringing in some good money. They're bringing in, I can count on them to do well. And then I got these other 2, I'm not quite sure. And then I got this last one that I just really don't think he gets it at all. And so that's a talent issue, right? Maybe. But it's also, if they aren't all talking the same language, so maybe Joe and Larry, the 2 guys that are really picking it, maybe they're both saying it the same way, or a version of the same way. And the other 3 on your sales team, they just aren't saying it well at all. And then worst case is you bring in you got a salesperson, he brings in somebody else from the company, and they describe it totally different, right? So now, well, which way is it? And let's be honest, when a salesperson talks, everybody thinks the salesperson's lying. So your unique selling proposition, your whatever you want to call it, elevator pitch, it has to align with everything else in the company. It has to align with the website. If you have a website, hopefully you do. It has to align with your things that you're putting out on social media, because hopefully you're doing that as well. All those things have to align together, because then the salesperson doesn't look like he's lying. He's just not making it up. He's actually reinforcing the same thing, that if your prospect goes to your company, checks you out a little bit, it's like, wow, that's the same thing Larry just told me. And that's a good thing, right? So that's the real value, in my opinion, of a unique selling proposition, and getting everybody to agree, what is that within your organization?
Yeah. And we should probably take a step back and say, for those people who've never thought about the formalized version of a unique selling proposition, how do they get there? And often I say is, well, if you're having problems starting with that kind of conversation, go to your customers first. Take one out to lunch, take one out to dinner, engage a customer on that personal, interpersonal level, and ask them, hey, why do you do business with us? Is it because we're 4 blocks from your office and we're convenient? Is it because our terms are better? Is it because our people are trained better, or offer you training more effectively? What is it? Is it that you're related to somebody who works in our sales office, right? We don't know, but any of those reasons should give us the underpinning for why that relationship exists and what potential it has, right? And if you have enough of those meetings with your top 10, then top 20, then top 50, then you can top with all your salespeople, and understand why people buy from you, understanding your value. Because if you think your value is service and delivery, but it's really price, at some point you're going to really struggle. So preventing that struggle is really important for you to know how to sidestep that landmine, especially as we're looking down the barrel of things like rising inflation rates, rising wages in a talent market, attracting talent. So finding those gems in your business becomes really a great opportunity. So, salespeople being able to clearly communicate the unique selling proposition, that has a far-reaching impact.
I agree 100%. What we want to do is we want to have everybody talking the same language. So we kind of beat this up a lot in the last 10 minutes. So I'm going to give you some ideas on how to do this in a way, kind of build off of what Kevin just said. So you've talked to your customers, you came back, you had some thoughts on this. Challenge your salespeople. What are you hearing? What are you saying that works? What doesn't work? And be open to that criticism, that thing that you thought was working, they're saying, no, we never talked about that, boss. That's okay, right? So they're the people out there making that happen or not. So really do it as an exercise within the company to truly figure it out. If you want to go through a very formal process, Kevin and I actually do this for our clients on a regular basis. So we're happy to do that for you as well. But the first thing we're going to ask you is identify who your best customer is for that product or that service or your company in general. If I actually can suggest that you have every one of your major products that you do this, as well as the company overall. But who are your best prospects for that product? What do they do? Who are they? Describe that to yourself. And then figure out, well, how do I talk to that person in their language that they actually would understand what I'm trying to convey and why it's important? And start with that process right there, because that'll be the first process that if you ask me to help you walk through it, if you ask Kevin to help you walk through it, that's going to be one of the first steps we go. Who are we trying to make this message work for?
Absolutely. And funny story, I was working with a client and they were kind of exasperated with having to go through the process because designing your ideal client and really getting under the covers and the layers of what that person looks like can feel somewhat tedious, right? But then this amazing thing happened. I was at a networking event and I met somebody that fit their profile, right? And I was able to say, you know what, you should meet this customer. And so I introduced them. And at the end of the first meeting, the first discovery meeting, the customer came back to me and said, they're exactly who we're looking for. How did you know that? And I said, well, you told me. What do you mean? Well, and then we went through all the top tier, the top 10 qualities that they were looking for in a customer, and we mapped them directly to this person. So then we were able to really hit the springboard and pour gasoline on their marketing to
Right.
target and address those kinds of relationships. So by knowing your unique value and the person you're most interested in talking to, those two things together can become the rocket fuel that drives your sales and revenue growth.
Exactly. And I do want to make this point though, that we aren't saying that we are upending the marketing process. If you have a marketing partner or a marketing person in your company, we're not trying to override what they're doing, right? They are doing lots of big messaging on their website and their newsletter, in your social media, all of the rest. That is all encompassing, covers everything you do with lots of detail behind it. What we really want to get to is what's the one or two sentences, that's why I say 50 words or less, what are the one or two sentences that summarizes that and gets the customer, the prospect to say how. So that's why you got to really appeal to that person. It has to be reinforced with the marketing message. We're not trying to take that marketing message away. We're trying to grow the marketing message to be one specific thing that we can say, or one very, very tight comment that we can make.
Completely agree. And we're running up against the 15-minute mark, and we want to be true to our commitment to you to stay at 15 minutes. So for all you marketing professionals listening out there, we want to be complementary to your services, not contradictory. And in the same way, we want to be the standard bearer for that messaging in the market. So when we're talking about ICP and USP, all the acronyms and alphabet soup, we're thinking about how we can add value to the CEOs in the world to drive small business. Here we're right at the top. Sean, why don't you close us out?
Yeah, so this has been fun. So as I said before, this is not always an easy thing to do. So don't be afraid to reach out to us and ask us for help. That's what we're here for. We're happy to help you. So we hope you've enjoyed this last episode of Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. We're going to do this every week. In fact, we do this every week. And we have a list of questions that we're still going to work through, that we're going to take us through kind of the end of December. But we're really looking for feedback from you. So do us a favor, drop us a note, leave a comment down below. We'll catch the comment. What questions are bothering you? What are you trying to figure out how to do? And how we can help you and add value to your sales process. Anyway, please come back every Tuesday afternoon, 4:30. We're going to be on. We're going to get it done in 15 minutes. We're going to make it today under 15 minutes today as well. And we look forward to talking to you in the future. Thank you very much for your time. Happy selling.
Happy selling.